Listo.
Lista.
Calisto.
Calista means go?
Listo means ready, steady, go.
Yeah, lista.
Listo is like ready. Estoy listo.
There you go, we're ready.
Estamos listos.
Hello everyone, welcome to this next orgasmic conversation with this beautiful man, Jack. Hey Jack.
Hello.
So if you're jumping onto this video and this is your first video of seeing Jack and myself, then we created another video before this, which is a dive into the orgasmic yoga practice that we've brought to the world, and this came through Joseph Kramer and the sexological bodywork training. And it's a practice that I've been doing for a number of months since the training, and Jack jumped onto it courageously as an invitation when we just launched the online course. And after the first 10 days, because Jack bravely and decided that if I'm going to do this, I want to do 21 days straight and see what it gives me and see what the treasures that it beholds. And after the first 10 days, we had a video together. So please watch that video as well, because we're going to dive in now from the 10 days on to the end of his 21-day exploration. So thank you for tuning in.
Yeah,
you're welcome to reference.
Definitely important, I think, to watch the first video, because today, like you said, we're going to talk about the second half, and then I'd like to go back to the beginning where I started and go through my intentions maybe and see how that kind of unfolded, if they did unfold in the way that I kind of intended when I began. I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, so please.
Yeah, today I've got my notepad. What's alive in me right now is this balance between planning and spontaneity, right? This last time was like, yeah, we're just going to do it, and it kind of all flowed, and this time it was like, oh, I want to say this, I want to say that, so I'm going to write it down to make sure, that I don't forget anything. And I think that falls into when you're doing orgasmic yoga practice. Obviously you've got the choreography, and sometimes you can get too wrapped up in, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, and you're reading your choreography and you're trying to like memorize what you've got to do, and then you start the practice and you're so in your head thinking what you have to do that it doesn't really flow, and you can get frustrated and yeah, I guess always leaving room for that spontaneity. So having the choreographies can give you ideas, they can inspire you, but sometimes it's good to like look at it and then let go, like, oh, look at this now and again, maybe see what I need to say, and then
Yeah, and this is a good point. This is an erotic journal. It's not just a notepad. It's an erotic journal, yes? And part of the practice for people that are new to it is that you actually use your erotic journal after every session, and you take some notes. And that can be your challenges, that can be your insights, it can be the resistances that come up. It's really just an opportunity for you to take that moment to write that down.
So we just
dive straight in, yes, please.
So obviously, halfway through I was in the middle of movement, so I was really getting into movement and combining that with the breath, and then the third week was sound. Funny enough though, during the second week I already started to sound. I think preparing myself was, and I think most people say this, that it's the most challenging week, because you're being heard, right? By yourself, not just by yourself, but you're doing it in a space where there's other people around, even your neighbours, maybe they're hearing you, so there's that fear that you're being heard, and what sounds are you making, and what sounds should you make, and all these stories.
What people might be thinking if they hear your sound.
Exactly. What's he doing? What's he up to? I thought he was on his own in there. What's going down in there if he's on his own? How is that even possible? So that was an interesting build up I saw, and I was actually embracing the sound. And when it got to the third week, I was ready. Even from the beginning, I was thinking a lot about the third week, but it seemed to, like I say, break into the second, and then when I got to the third, I was like, yeah, now it's sound, and I was even like excited about it. Okay, let's have a look at this list. One important thing that I found with myself, and this is at the beginning of the sessions, is checking in with my body before I start and before I set the intention. So a lot of the times, okay, I'm going to do this today. You even plan it the day before, after you finish sitting. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this, or So actually sitting down and feeling into your body, because there's times where I want to do, I don't know, I'm going to focus on anger, or I'm going to focus on a static movement, but then I check in with my body and it's like, my body's feeling a bit weak and a bit drained, so how am I going to take my body to do that? So in our mind we have one idea, but then the reality of the body is a different one. So I think balance, being aware of that is important.
And being able to adapt to what's alive in the moment.
and both ways, because we can easily fall into, oh, my body's always tired, so I'm not going to do this.
Right,
so it's
right,
a fine line.
right. That's a great point. So is it a resistance and a distraction to not do the practice, to break the comfort zone, or is this genuinely how I'm feeling? Yeah.
Because I had a very interesting day or thought in my head during practice that, okay, I've set out to do 21 days. If I don't do 21 days, I fail. This is my strive for perfection, you know. Even though I've had so many amazing sessions, if I miss a day, I fail. So this, and I see this in many other things, aspects of my life. So I actually forced myself to miss a day.
Right.
I think it was the 19th or the 20th.
Yeah.
In my mind, I was like, no, you don't have to force yourself to miss it. You could do a session today, because my mind was still attached to that story.
Right.
Because there was one session which I said, you know, I've got to do it, so I forced myself, and I did 30 minutes, like a really short session, just because I felt like I had to do it, because otherwise I was failing. And it wasn't a shit session, but it was probably one of my weakest, because I didn't, you know, what you put in is what you get out, right? So if you're just doing it for the sake of doing it, it's like there's no point, really. So that was definitely a highlight for me in the second part.
Yeah, and which is actually a great point to share this. So just to recap on this, Jack chose to do 21 days. In our initial experiment, we did 21 days as an invitation, but this course, now we just invite that in the first week you can do one session, the second week 2 sessions, and the third week 3 sessions as a basis, just to get the practice in and have an experience. Now if you choose to do more or less, you can. And I think the key point here that Jack's brought up is to notice the patterns that start to come up in your self-pleasuring practice, that then how they actually link into other areas of your life. That's one. And another isn't that beautiful, what he's highlighting for us, is that a self-pleasuring an act, a practice to love yourself, to care for yourself, to be with yourself, to have joy with yourself, intimacy with yourself. And yet it can become like forced or bring up like, oh, I'm a failure. Like, you're not a failure ever, full stop. And you're definitely not a failure if you decide that today I can't play with myself. But this is a pattern just with many of us as a program in life. I've got to succeed. You know, oh, it's 21 days, you know, as opposed to, like you said, and then you do that 30 minutes, and it's not even enjoyable anyway. Exactly. Not to the point where, like, oh, I want to be here right now. Magic.
So, like, leaving room for failure, and being okay with failure, and being okay if you have a shit session, even though there aren't shit sessions. Because, like, one day I had the feeling throughout, and even at the end I felt like it was shit, but then realizing that actually you need the shit ones to have the good ones. You need that yin and yang, right? You need that balance. So I actually appreciated the session afterwards, even though it was a shit one. Yeah,
and again, I just want to so on the course in the beginning, we say to people, like, it's called orgasmic yoga as a practice, but you don't necessarily come away feeling always ecstatic and orgasmic and so on, depending on what it brings up. It might bring up a lot of fear or worry or anxiety and all this other stuff. So but I think the key is allowing what is there. That allows it to be more. You think it allows it to be more flowing. Like, oh, okay, this is what's here today, and that's allowed too.
Yes, it's being okay with your truth in that moment. Being okay with the fact that, oh, my back hurts, so maybe I can't do I can't do shaking today, you know, and being okay with the fact that you can't, and being soft with yourself and loving yourself even though you can't do it, and maybe doing something else. You know? This was a really interesting one, and I heard about this recently. I think it was during this time that they told me about when we're in the womb, the mouth is connected with the genital, right? And this, let's say we do in a way have this addiction, right? To like release this genitalia release through ejaculation, through masturbation, and it made me think, if we're suppressing our voice, this came up in the third week, if we're suppressing our sound, our truth, our voice, our thoughts, our communication with people, and we're pushing it down into this area, and these are connected, then we're releasing. So what we're suppressing, we're releasing, and that's why we need to release constantly, because we're not voicing, we're not sounding, we're not talking our truth. We're suppressing it, emotionally, whatever, you know. So this addiction to release, in a way, makes sense, because we need to release if we're not releasing here. But that was very...
so it has to come out somewhere.
Exactly. So it's not coming out here, it's coming out here. We have this, like, need to just release and have sex and masturbate.
And go for things that we don't necessarily even want, but we think that we need them in order to get some sort of expression or release and so on. And what's also beautiful with that is that when we start to work with sound and we start to open our throat, our throat energy center, right? We start to allow that out, then when we become more expressive there with our sound and our openness, we are more confident to speak what we want to speak, our truth. We are more expressive from that place. There's less, anxiety around maybe speaking or saying no or yes. Remember we spoke about this like clear no and yes, that comes from here. And it can also help us to move, as you know this now, but move energy up as well.
Like
So-
there's less doubt.
Yeah.
It's like if you're going to talk, you talk. You don't start thinking about what you're going to say, and then you think, oh, shall I say it? Shall I not? It just comes out, right? Because like you say, it's open.
Yeah. And there's a safety as well. And another thing, or bravery. I like this word bravery recently. Like there's a bravery that, okay, if I feel more connected to myself, I feel more whole, I feel more confident, I feel more at ease to say no and say yes. And especially around sexuality, I think many of you listening now have said yes to sexual activities that you don't want and no when you do, and there's a whole mix and confusion around interacting around sexuality and intimacy. Please tell us, please write to us or tell us if that's has been coming up for you. This practice allows us to look at that. So
Yeah, that relates to this need to release or this need for a partner or someone else to have sex with. Whereas through this practice, not only do you realize that you can release here, but so that reduces the neediness, but you also can self-pleasure yourself.
exactly.
So you bring that balance, and this is one of my initial intentions, was to bring into balance the independence and codependence within a relationship with your partner.
Yeah, so let's repeat that. That's nice. So say that again. Because this is something that I feel very passionate about this practice.
Yeah.
Like I'm in a relationship with Dara, as many of you know, and Jackie Boy is also in a relationship. But what do we do in a relationship? Many times, we
tend to look for everything in our partner.
Right, and we can lose ourselves and what we want with our clear yeses and nos, even in the relating. But everybody that doesn't have a relationship, obviously, oh, well, I want a partner. When I have a partner, I'm going to somehow be whole and complete. And it doesn't always work like that. It actually goes the opposite. In fact, we sometimes get into a partnership and then it just becomes this toxic, battling, conflicting, dependent, needy playground. And you think, oh, wow, if it was going to be like this, I prefer to be single. And actually, if you start to come here in your wholeness with your self-love and your connection, then you can have a much healthier interaction with everyone else.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think back when I've been single and you're fine when you're single. It's as soon as I get into a relationship, my focus shifts from myself to the relationship, to the other person, and then, like you say, you lose yourself. And yeah, this for me has reminded me to that it's that sacred time with yourself. It doesn't have to be orgasmic yoga. It could be going for a walk. It could be going for some food on your own. It could be reading a book. It could be anything, right? It could be just sitting around thinking. But just having that time to come back to yourself during the day. At some point, that's one of the key things that it's reminded me. Because even though I know that, because I lose myself, I lose that idea as well in the relationship. So that's been really powerful.
Yeah, and that's a lovely, again, this practice, if that can bring you back to the realization that I deserve to have time with myself, and it's okay to do that, then that's a gift.
Yeah. And then you can empower your partner to do the same.
Yes.
So you're both empowered.
Yeah.
Not take it personally when they say, look, I need to go and have some food on my own. I want to go and have dinner on my own, or I want to go away for a night on my own, because I really need to see some space,
Yeah, I need to
Nothing
be with
to do
myself.
with you, it's just I feel a bit overwhelmed in life right now. I need to take a few hours or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I feel that there's a real resistance to say that. We spoke about this, didn't we, the other day? There's a real resistance to say no, even to the small no's. We spoke about this the other day in the pool, and we said, oh, somebody might ask you, oh, could you make me a cup of tea? A very simple act where most people would say, yeah, that's okay, but sometimes it might be a no. Maybe you've got something going on, maybe it's just like a no. But the minute we say no, we feel like, oh, how are they going to receive that? Oh, they might think that I don't like them anymore, or the other person might be like,
they did something wrong.
Yeah, or they did something wrong, or why wouldn't they want to do that? And then the other person can react with like, oh wow, if that's how it is, I won't make you something later. Yeah, right. You start getting in this sort of
Like we
childish.
don't allow each other to say no.
Right.
You know, it's ridiculous if you think about it.
Yeah.
Everybody lives for the other person, or the people around them, to please everybody, and then everybody's forgetting themselves, and then everyone's needy.
Yeah.
Everyone's like a vampire.
Yeah.
Everyone's like draining each other because nobody's really being selfish in a good way.
Right. Being sovereign in that my no's a no right now, but it's yes many other times, and that's allowed. So what we call that in the orgasmic yoga practice is a treasure. What Jackie Boy is sharing with you is some of the treasures, insights that he's picking up through going on this journey.
Wow. This is something that you brought up a couple of days ago, and I hadn't thought about it that way, but I'd done it in a couple of sessions prior. Is that doing some like static movement, doing some like even nearly like a workout, the first 5, 10, 15 minutes of the session to really bring your heartbeat up, to really, because when you automatically do, when you do an intense movement, you automatically come into the breath as well.
Right.
So you come back into the body, you come out of the head. If you're starting a session and you're really heady, really good idea to really do some movement and then come to the breath, and then before you know it, you're really there, you're really present, and then you can really feed into the rest of the session. That was an important part as well.
Yeah, and the three pillars, as you're hearing, of the orgasmic yoga practice is breath, breath, movement, sound. That are three pillars that should be incorporated in every practice. And whenever you're making love with a partner, like if you think about it, the most amazing love-making experiences or cultivating experiences you've had have been with breath, sound, and movement. So all we're doing here is using these basic tools, practices to incorporate into everything. It's so, I can't tell you how amazing this is. The simple things in life are amazing.
Yeah, the amount of sound, especially sound, I think that's why it's the most challenging week, because we've been suppressed, like as babies when we're crying, or especially crying, right, when we're making a lot of noise, and it's annoying for adults. It's like, they're like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, and they're like, in a nice way, but they suppress the tears, they suppress the noise, they're letting it out.
Yeah.
And we especially boys, right, because they're supposed to be stronger for some reason than women, and they're told that boys don't cry and boys are strong. And I watched a beautiful TED talk on this during this week as well, about how men are conditioned to be strong and not show that softness and not show their tears, and just suppress all of their emotions that we also have, just like women. So yeah, really letting them out and sharing them, it just makes it all a lot lighter.
Do you feel that TED talk being included into the program would be beneficial for some men doing the practice?
Totally, because there was one day, because I had a bit of a breakdown outside of the practice, but obviously it's everything that's happening around you during the practice is part of the practice and related to the practice.
All interconnected.
So I had a tearful breakdown with Corina, and it was really bringing up my softness, my tenderness, the fact that I am a very sensitive being, man or woman, but I'm personally a very sensitive human being. But life has brought me into like being a chef, for example, which in the restaurant industry is a very fierce, feisty, stressful, heated environment, like the military. It's very militant, and life put me in that situation for me to realize my sensitivity. Or even attracted Corina, who's a very fiery, beautiful human being, but very fiery and very powerful. And that also brought up the same thing, that I am actually very sensitive, and I'm not, to this day, even though I embrace it, not embracing it fully. Really owning that feminine, soft, tender. And I did a video that I did, and I shared it. But that was also during that week, during the last week of sound, and realizing that and really owning it. And it's so nice, because I know that all men have that softness.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that when we finish these videos, I want to create a post, and I want to put the video that you created of you during this session as well in there, to show that, that there's some notes around practice.
Yeah, and like I said, it was about me. It's like whether I was sharing about sensitivity or tears or something else, the idea of sharing something so vulnerable to your friends, to your close friends or your friends on Facebook, not to the whole world, but to people that know you, is a way for you to take responsibility and really own that part of you that maybe you fear or you're scared of showing it. So that was kind of the idea of that post.
Right.
And also to share the experience and like share some raw insights during the practice.
Yeah, the vulnerability is where the power is.
Yeah, exactly. Vulnerability is strength. The soundscape.
The soundscape, go on.
Let's talk about that one.
Yeah.
And whoever's doing it or whoever does do it, there will be in the course. There's this soundscape of you and another two amazing orgasmonauts doing their practice. So and I actually filmed I recorded myself this week as well.
Ah, great.
I did my own soundscape just to listen, you know? And yeah, it was a whole session, so it was like 50 minutes, huh? And for me, what it brought up for me was not only my fears around doing not just orgasmic yoga, but other activities with other people, and my projections and so on. But it served as like a initiation, you know, because I wasn't doing it with other people, but I could hear other people's voices doing that same practice that I was doing. So it was like I was in a room with other people, but I wasn't. So it was like a stepping stone between doing it on my own and doing it with people. Now I think I'd be up for trying it in a space with other people, you know? Whereas before doing it with the soundscape, I don't think I would have taken the leap chosen. So that was really nice.
Yeah, powerful. Yeah, lovely. I like that, and I really appreciate when you shared that with me before. That and actually to hear that from you, because I don't know, nobody's fed that back to us, but to hear that from you, that's what he created was
Yeah, it's very, very useful tool.
And that was Dara's idea to put that in there, because she's all about sound, as you know, and the singing, and she was like, yeah, that might really support the opportunity to open. Sometimes we just need to hear how some other people make a sound, and when we do it, we're like, it's not so unfamiliar.
Although what it brought up for me was being the sensitive person that I am. When I'm in groups, because I feel everybody around me, I feel the emotions, the thoughts, the sounds. It's easy to get entangled in the way they're doing their practice, sort of making the sound, doing the breath, whatever it is, and wanting to not imitate, but follow their rhythm or what they're doing instead of following my own unique practice and expression. You know, so doing it in a space is really a challenge. Can you focus on yourself?
Yes.
Can you be
Yes.
and be with yourself?
Yeah, can you stay with yourself while others are around staying with themselves? And I've done it in large groups with people, and it's totally, that's what it's about. You know, you get pulled out, you see people, it inspires you, and at the same time you've got to keep coming back to yourself. And the breath helps with that.
So that, and that reflects in, can you go out to a gathering, to a group gathering, and be yourself?
Right,
Instead of following the pack or relating to the pack in a similar way, or copying. Can you really express yourself, your unique self, without fear?
Yeah. So this practice enables you to empower yourself so you can go into groups and be yourself.
Exactly.
Love that.
I don't know, have you got any questions? I think
Yeah, that's beautiful. If you're happy there, I think the one question's popping up as you're speaking, I guess. Well, maybe two actually. So one would be, so if people just hear this video for the first time, or come into this, what would be your invitation to them to maybe explore curiously into this? What would you say to them?
I think definitely not to think that it's just sexual. And I think I talked about this in the first video we did. But it has so many other realms and aspects to it outside of that, including that, but outside of that, related to like I say, it just reflects. It's like a reflection of how you relate in other facets of your life, and by
Yeah, come back to that. Yeah, so
come back to me.
Because
I got stuck in my head there trying to think.
That's okay. So,
don't get too heady in the session.
No, that's a really great point. So, or am I hearing that you're saying that? I know you're saying that the practice is not just about sexuality, but it includes that in terms of your sexual connection. But at the same time, it holds many other opportunities to explore yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, psychologically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And really get the chance to spend some time with your body and with yourself and playing around. It's like trial and error, like especially with sound, like making different sounds, movement, making different movements. What does your body, your unique particular body like doing? What feels good? Because self-pleasure is obviously not just about going like that, is it?
Right.
It's the whole body, like you say, the whole body is doing a favor.
Right.
So it's, you know, what type of massages can you give yourself that not only give you pleasure, but they maybe relieve certain areas of the body? Because when we were talking about earlier about the mouth being connected to here and how there's a lot of suppression of emotions in this area, there may be massages, you know, massages around the bum, in between the anus, I don't know, like
all of it,
around different areas that there's so much tension, and we live in such a stress, not so much here in Bali, but in the civilized world, a lot of stress, and that's contraction, right?
Exactly.
A lot of contraction in a lot of parts of the body. So I know we can't reach the back, we should go for probably a proper massage for that one, but for the most part we can reach everywhere in our body and we can relieve
and we can just give acknowledgement and touch and caress, and so yeah, that's really key. And then maybe the last question or another question I have is like, so you did the 21 days, you chose to, you now have the basis of the practice. Of course there's other choreographies to explore, but what is it opened up now for moving forward? What's your intention moving forward with committing to these 21 days, if you have one?
Yeah. I think definitely, because like I said, when I get into a relationship, I lose that sacred time with myself, and it could be that, you know, I'll probably do some more sessions, you know, of orgasmic yoga, but it's more so reminded me that I still need that sacred time with myself every day. Every day, I need 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, on my own, in my own space.
Right.
That for me has been a big highlight.
You deserve that.
Yeah, and I deserve that. And just that independence within the relationship, like really working on that balance between my own time and my focusing on the relationship and focusing on myself, and bridging that gap, and not getting lost in either of it. And that's an art, I guess, but something that you can work on daily.
Yeah, so coming back to yourself.
Yeah.
Excuse the pun. Coming back to yourself. Yeah. And yeah, I feel that what I'd like to contribute to that is that, so orgasmic yoga is that when we mix different practices like qigong and yoga and fitness and, you know, all these different ways that we can connect to our body, how we can then include, as I've said many times now, but I will keep repeating this, how we include the genitals in that wholeness. So we bring the heart and the genitals into connection. So it's why it's called mindful masturbation, because it's bringing our deeper connection to the wholeness of who we are. It's a celebration of life, of breath, of movement, of sound, of this very magnificent body that we've been given, that we often just give to somebody else or abuse and treat with so much internal violence. Communication that we mostly have for many people that I meet along this path is really violent communication. Judging ourselves, putting ourselves down, not giving ourselves any time for touch, caress, and then wanting to go into a relationship and expect somebody else to know how we want to be loved. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. And tell me if it does. If you listen to this video and you say it does, tell me if it works. I'm pretty certain most of you will be agreeing, because it doesn't work. If I know how to love myself and touch myself and caress myself and give myself time, like he's saying, what does that do for me? That gives me more ability to communicate my needs, my wants, my desires, my requests, my requirements. It gives me a sense of groundedness, right? Sovereignty. That I love myself and that I'm worthy of loving. So then that puts out a message that I'm worthy of loving. So when somebody meets you, they're already feeling that frequency, like, wow, here's a person worthy of love, right? It's allowing other people to shine their light, you know, because you're taking responsibility for yourself. So the person that you come into your space and go, wow, I can take time for myself.
Yeah, it's very empowering for everybody.
Right. Yeah. So it's that simple sense of coming back to self. I love what you said. Come back to the self. Love yourself fully, and then share your completeness with others. It's what we do in our friendship, we do in our relationships. I'm not coming to you with what can I get. I'm coming to you with what can I give by sharing my wholeness, my completeness with you, and giving you an invitation to share that, and then together we can elevate. Do you see the difference in that?
Yeah.
So, you want to add anything to that, or is that brought anything up in closing?
I think the willingness to explore orgasmic yoga with my partner as well.
Right.
Was brilliant.
Right, thank you for that.
Because spontaneously in the second week, I think it was, we did a session together, and it's very interesting to be in such an intimate space of where you normally relate very physically, to actually be relating with yourself in the presence of the other.
Exactly.
And that I think can create a lot of respect and honouring and appreciating and just bringing presence to each other's bodies and witnessing each other, and I don't know, I think it can be really beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say it is, and I'm so happy that Jack brought that up. Dara and I have done that, and we still do it, and there's such a beauty when you, one of the keys with the orgasmic yoga, if you are doing it with your partner, it's just a key point, is that during you really do what Jack said earlier, you stay with yourself till the whole end of the practice, till you get to the erotic journal and the meditation,
that
and you
can be
breathe.
hard, no?
Yes, before you start looking over at your partner and getting a bit frisky, and then like all of a sudden the orgasmic yoga turns into, you know, dual cultivation. It's got to be solo cultivation first, and then at the end sharing. That was a point that was given to us in the training. But I think what you're saying is absolutely 100%. I agree, because it brings an honouring and a respect, and there's also something really beautiful for those out there practicing with their partners, of honouring and witnessing your partner in the way that they really choose to explore their bodies. So profound.
Wow. It brings up, because I haven't done it yet, but in the witnessing of your partner and how they touch themselves can inspire you when you touch them.
Yes.
You're like, okay, this is how they are with themselves. So, you know, maybe they're soft, maybe they're like, you know, the opposite or whatever it is, but you can see how what you give yourself sometimes, or what you give others, is what you actually want to receive.
Yes. Yeah, and actually,
we give what we want instead of giving the other person what
they want.
Actually want, because we don't know.
Exactly. Exactly. That's all I've said to you on this whole thing. Exactly. I have to say exactly many different ways. Yes, right, exactly. No, but this is great, because you know, when I first showed Dara witnessed me and the way that I was playing with myself in this thing, she was like, after, she's like, wow, like you're quite physical with yourself. And I was like, yeah, I like that sometimes. It's like, wow, I didn't know you could even touch yourself like that in that, you know, with that. It wasn't like it was aggressive, but it was really quite firm. And that also gave her a different perspective of how to caress me and how I like to be touched. Because I like firm touch. I love soft touch, but I really like, even when, you know, I like firm touch. Please.
Now, what it brings up is the dissolution of the self in that moment, because when we're, and I see this in myself, when you're exploring with your partner, and your mind or your ego wants to be the one who discovers what she likes or thinks it should know, like, I think I should know what she likes, and it just occurs spontaneously without her having to tell me. And if she tells me, it's like, oh, you know, it's like, I don't know, I'm not good enough, or blah blah blah. So you've really got to die in that moment of not just witnessing but receiving. Yeah, I'd like to be touched like this, I'd like to receive this. Can you maybe do it this way? Can you do it a little bit softer? And it's not that you're doing it wrong, it's just communication to make it even better, right? Exactly. So how can this be better?
How can this be even better?
How can this be better?
Yeah. Softer, firmer, slower, faster. How can this be even better?
Getting to know each other and letting go of the self that wants to be right or know how to pleasure someone else, because it becomes egotistical.
Right.
I want to pleasure you in the way that I want to pleasure you, because I know best.
Yes.
And I want to take you to the orgasm.
Yes.
And
I want to take you
I
to
want to
ecstasy.
feel like a fucking champion.
Right. right. Which is so deeply egoic, and causes so much confusion, because actually, and I'm talking from a man's perspective, you feel, like you said, you feel, oh, well, I'm somehow unworthy because I'm not pleasuring this woman how I should know how to pleasure her, but nobody's ever told me, and they haven't told me how to like to be pleasured, but I'm going to assume that everyone else I've pleasured must be the same. It's so arrogant. So yeah, beautiful.
And the beautiful thing that is beyond that, when you do dissolve, and you talk about being in service of the feminine or of the woman or of the male, if you're a woman, it's such a beautiful beautiful, softening experience to actually be able to give exactly what they feel they want in that moment, and to feel that what you're giving them in that moment, which is what they told you, is actually what, you know, they're really enjoying it. So it's even more, you know, than what you thought you could give because you thought you knew it.
Yeah, your thinking is so limited.
Exactly.
You have to die to your thinking to exist.
So it becomes a co-creative space.
Yeah, and yes, yeah. So you actually, it's the we, not me.
Exactly.
Comes back to that again. And I just want to say this as well. This is like to all genders out there. Yeah, this is like you know, me and Jack are what you want to call cis male, man. You know, man, woman. We predominantly like to other women. But at the same time, this is for, you know, this is for gay relationships. This is for any mixed gender. This practice is a solo practice. Once you work on yourself, you can then share that with whoever else you're in relating to. And I just want to say one last thing on this. This is about relating across the field. So this isn't just about sexual encounters. You know, you start to work on yourself in this way with this practice, and the way that your relationships at work change, you watch how they change. And your relationships with your family change, you watch how they change. If the relationship to you changes, every other relationship changes. It just has to. And this is why I call it pleasure activism. You may have heard me talking about this word, pleasure activism. Well, one of the things that I feel has been the disconnect of humanity and from other species has been our disconnect from ourselves, our connection to our own pleasure, our love. When we fall in love with ourselves, the way we treat the world and other species changes instantly. So the journey is always back to the self, connecting to our genitalia, which is the creation that we got created from here. So the invitation is to come back and reconnect to our genitals, reconnect to our heart, and then walk as a completely different electromagnetic vibration. We change our vibration through this practice. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. That's why I'm passionate that this man took the 21 days, and I am so thankful to all of you if you've jumped on board this online opportunity to explore yourself orgasmically. And yeah, thank you for being here today. Thank you again, Jack.
Thank you.
I think we will speak more about this because I believe the practice will continue. We're going to do some stuff together, so that maybe we'll do a video on after we've done the group practice. Maybe we can come back and share. I just keep quizzing Jack basically. He'll have to keep doing this for the rest of his life, and I keep asking, okay, so now what?
That's cool, it's fun.
Yeah, in 2 years' time, you're like, wow, you know, now I do it with like hundreds of people all around the world, and we're like, cool, tell us what happened.
See you in 20 years.
Yeah, he's a nomadic chef. Now he's going to be the orgasmic nomad. He goes around the world just being orgasmic with everyone. So, although saying that, his food, if you taste his food, him and Karina's food anyway, that is totally orgasmic. Sacred food.
Bring the orgasm to the palate.
Yeah, bring the orgasm to the palate. I like that. Cool. Hugs?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shall I finish by reading the intention?
Yeah, you
that I
can.
set out at the beginning, just to like.
These were
bring to a
the
closure.
intentions at the end?
This is what I wrote before I started.
Yeah, read them.
And then you can see how they relate into videos and everything we talked about.
Yeah, and these are the intentions before before
day
you
one.
started the day one as the whole.
This is the reason why I did the practice.
Yeah, go.
Find a balance between dependence and independence within my intimate relationship. To explore myself, my genitals, and my sexual energy, and to learn new ways to channel them. To love myself more and be free. To make peace with my past of masturbation and start a new chapter and relationship with my lingam and body. To honor and respect my lingam, body, and sexual energy. Heal my back. Heal my back.
I love that. Look, tingles. See that? Tingles of truth. So we're cultivating life force energy and using it for healing ourselves. Wow, the magic is already here. We don't have to go out. Thank you.
Praise the body.
There you go. Another orgasmic conversation.